Yo, what is going on, guys? It is finally here. Absolute Flash issue number 1. Now, if you heard the announcement for this a while ago and you heard the details like I did, if you grew up during the 90s or the early 2000s like I did, then I'm sure you've been hyped about this one just as much as I have for a while now, and it is finally time to dig into this. Because not only is this series starting off and centered around Wally West as the Flash of this new universe from DC Comics, the Absolute Universe, which is basically the equivalent to Marvel's Ultimate Universe. Not only that, but it is also written by Jeff Lemire. For those of you who don't know him, he's done some of the best work on Moon Knight, some of the best writing that character has ever seen, if not the best. He's done other great stuff like Green Arrow during the New 52. One of my favorite miniseries ever, Joker Killer Smile, which I did a video for here on the channel. You can check that out here. Genuinely my favorite writer in comics, working with one of my favorite characters ever. It is so exciting. I cannot wait to get into it because it delivers in just about every way that you would hope. The art is amazing, the writing is thoughtful, it's immediately immersive, the tiny details are different in ways that matter. It's just so cool. So let's go ahead and get into it. This issue immediately opens up by playing with time a little bit. Now, honestly, I'll be honest with you, I'll break the fourth wall here. This issue is kind of like told in a non-linear fashion, so it's kind of jumping around in time a bit. I just kind of want to play this straightforward, so I'm going to restructure this and just tell it in timeline order. So this starts out 2 days ago where Wally is walking out in the rain. Now his fashion sense is a little bit different, his age is a little bit different from normal continuity, so we're already starting off with some fundamental differences with his character for a new universe, which is fitting. He's got some sweatpants or joggers on or something like that, some tall socks, some sneakers, a baggy hoodie, and a fanny pack strapped diagonally around his chest. And we get some narration from him, some internal monologue where he says, "You know who you are. You're Wally West, 15 years old and completely alone." And we see him walking past a small town on these train tracks. "I knew it was only a matter of time. Things had been okay for a while, but I could feel it coming on again. It always starts in my stomach, like this terrible, low-level, uneasy feeling that begins to spread. And then I know it's starting again. The racing thoughts, the obsessive overthinking, the anxiety. She used to catch it early. She could make me relax, calm me down, but she's gone, and it's just me now." And then he gets into his typical teenage angst. "I don't need anyone else anyway. In the end, we're all alone. Other people just mess everything up. When it's just me, I have control, total control." And we see him, hands in his pockets, stroll up to the front entrance of an army base. The two guards at the front hold up their hands. "This is a restricted area," and Wally starts digging through his fanny pack. "Yeah, I have my pass here somewhere." One of the soldiers recognizes him. "You know you're not supposed to be out this late, kiddo. Your dad catches you, he's gonna freak." And someone off panel says, "At ease, I can escort the prisoner from here." And Barry Allen in a lab coat steps out of this office nearby in a red t-shirt eating an apple saying, "Cut the kid some slack, Sergeant. We were all young once, weren't we?" And Barry walks him home. "Thanks, Dr. Allen," Wally says. "I keep telling you, it's Barry, please." And they keep walking in silence. "So was it worth it?" Barry asks. "Staying out past curfew? Did you get into any trouble?" "Not really. Nothing to do around here anyway. And no one to do it with, I'm guessing. But you're probably used to that by now. You and your dad were down at Fort McNeil in Texas before transferring here, weren't you?" Yeah. And Iowa before that." "Life of an army brat. Must be hard to make friends." "I don't know," Wally says. "I guess." And they reach his home. "Well, good night, Dr. Allen." "Hey, Wally." "Yeah? You want to see something cool?" Barry then takes him to this underground, dimly lit lab with a sprawling floor plan, a grand entrance, lots of circular and rectangular blue overhead lighting, and pink stripes of paint along the floor to guide people like a path to each laboratory. It's very clear that this is not your typical science lab. Barry, with his hands in his lab pockets, says, "So your dad tell you anything about what we're doing here at Fort Fox?" No, not really. Research stuff. He and I don't talk about his work very much." "Well, what do you talk about?" "Honestly, not much. Since my mom died, he and I don't really have much in common." "Yeah, me and my old man too," Barry says, scanning his hand before entering a lab, and upon recognizing his handprint, the door is open, and Wally sees something. Whoa. Barry holds an arm out. "Yeah, told you. It's cool, right? Welcome to Project Olympus." And Wally follows Barry down a hallway, walking past a bunch of test tubes with gorillas in them. "What exactly are you guys doing down here?" Wally asks. "Project Olympus is, well, I can't tell you everything, but we're working on the very razor's edge of physics and biology. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's the military, so obviously the mandate is for weapons development, but that's only the beginning. Where we can go from there is, well, it's groundbreaking, and we're breaking new ground on it every day. Look, I'm glad I ran into you, Wally. Like I said, I read your file. You're a smart kid. Too smart to be stuck sitting around at the barracks, and too smart to be going to that embarrassment they call a school. Maybe you can work part-time with me down here once in a while. Wally turns around. Oh, I mean, that would be awesome, but my dad would never let me. Besides, isn't this all, like, super classified? I can pull some strings, and I can talk to your dad, too. I'm sure once I explain, he'll understand. And someone off panel says, no, I won't. And Wally's dad enters the room. Dad, Dr. Allen was just, what the hell are you doing down here? And why aren't you in bed? They called me and told me they caught you sneaking back in. I wasn't sneaking. I just went for a walk in town and lost track of time. Dad argues back. You're running around out there doing God knows what with your friends. What friends? There's no one here for me, Dad. And Barry chimes in. Rudy, I was just showing Wally around. Thought he might get a kick out of some of this stuff. It's Colonel West, and you know damn well civilians are not permitted down here, Allen. Take it easy, Colonel. Can't you see the kid is stuck bored out of his mind here? Come on, have some compassion. Mind your own damn business. You're lucky I don't report this. And he points to Wally. And you, get back to the house, now. We'll talk about this later. And with his head down, Wally slinks out, putting his headphones on and saying, right, sure we will, Dad. We jump forward a day where Wally's sitting in his room, hearing a knock on his door, and his dad enters. Wally, you okay? He takes his headphones off. I'm fine. His dad sits down on the bed. Look, I just wanted to talk about last night. It's fine, Wally says. I shouldn't have stayed out. It's not just that, Wally. It's what you saw in the mountain. What did I see? The work they're doing there? It's dangerous, Wally. And I need to be here, but I also need to keep you safe. Are you serious? You dragged me across the country again because, quote unquote, you need to be here. But what about me, Dad? This is my job, son. And what am I supposed to do? Just sit in my room and wait until you get some new orders and we have to move again? At least Barry showed some interest in me. Barry? You are not to talk to him again. Do you understand me? And Wally turns for the door, fake saluting, saying, yes, sir. And he grabs his jacket off the hook, heading for the front door. If Mom were still alive, we'd have both left you a long time ago. He storms out the front door, into the rain. And like the universe was sending him a message, a bolt of lightning strikes right on top of the mountain, right above the cave where Barry's lab is, almost as if it's calling him to go back there. Fully drenched, Wally walks back into the laboratory, straight into the cave where his father told him not to go, walking past these test tubes with the monkeys and the gorillas in them that have completely transformed and mutated into something else with large brains that are exposed to open air. He heads deeper into the labs, back behind the lab that Barry showed him, being met by a lot of purple smoke and purple lighting. Barry? He calls out, before entering this gigantic testing room where Barry is stuck in the middle of a spheric contraption and electricity swarming around him. And when he notices Wally, he says, Wally? Get away, son, go! And we see him masked up with some suit on, telling him, run! Before everything goes black. And I just want to say right off the bat here, this is Jeff Lemire doing it right off the bat, setting Barry up as a mentor, but changing fundamental things to make it interesting, to make it a new experience again. Right, in the main universe, Barry was always, basically to Wally, he was what Uncle Ben was to Peter Parker. He was the one he looked up to. When Wally became the Flash, he constantly looked to Barry, who had died during Crisis on Infinite Earths. He was the guy that Wally was struggling to be like. He was his idol. He was the model. He was the first Flash. So he was constantly striving to be this idea of perfection that he saw Barry as after his death. And then eventually he became so good and he got past this mental block of I can't be like Barry because I don't want to overwrite his legacy, and then he became the best Flash there ever was, right? So Barry is an important piece. He should always be there like this mentor type character. Jeff Lemire is taking that into this new universe, but he's repurposing it. He's using it in a different way to where it's not that Barry is just his mentor because they have the same powers or anything like that. It's not because Barry was dating his Aunt Iris and he just magically ended up undergoing the exact same type of accident that gave the Flash his powers. It's not because of that. It's because nobody else understood the situation. Nobody in his vicinity understood what he was going through. Nobody felt the loneliness that he did, but Barry noticed. Barry, as he said, saw the potential in him, read his file, thought he was smart, that sort of thing. And if you don't incorporate that sort of thing, if you don't have Barry be the mentor to set him up to be who he wants to be, I mean, you could still make Wally, you could still do Wally, you could still do a new version of him, but it wouldn't be really that familiar. Having that connection to Barry Allen, even if he wasn't the Flash before, still makes it so that if you're gonna center this version of the Flash around Wally and have it start off with him in this universe, it's at least going to feel familiar. It's at least still gonna feel like the Wally we know. And I love that. I love that attention to detail there, recognizing how important Barry Barry is, even if he's not going to be part of it as the Flash. We then jump ahead in time, where Wally already has his powers, can already run at super speed, and is in the middle of the desert thinking to himself, what have I done? 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 Just moving faster than he can even think, exploding with speed, more than he knows what to do with. We then jump ahead further in time a little bit, where he's calmed down, and his powers have calmed down, and he thinks to himself, should have never gone with Barry, should have never stayed with my dad, I should have just run when I had the chance. I should have ran and never looked back. I could just be on my own where I can't hurt anybody. He then looks off in the distance and sees someone coming his way, and it's this large, gray, high-tech looking vehicle that shoots a massive boomerang out the front of it in Wally's direction. Wally hits straight for a cave, racing straight inside and preventing the boomerang from following him. We hear some radio transmissions coming from this boomerang. Positive ID, Wally West. Do I have permission to attack? Negative, someone else does. Return to unit. I could have taken him and saved us all a lot of trouble. And then we see the absolute universe version of the Rogues stepping out of this tank. This version of Captain Boomerang says, so what'll it be then, Captain? Captain Cold responds, Jesse, Lisa, split up and flank him. Harkness, you and I are going in head on. And so from that we can assume that this is Captain Boomerang, Captain Cold, Golden Glider, and Trickster. Dead or alive, Captain? Golden Glider asks. And Captain Cold puts his glasses on. Alive. For now. Wally continues racing down the cave. This is insane, he thinks to himself. Did Dad send them after me? How could he do that? And we see tears come from his eyes as the lightning, the speed becomes too much for him again, and he cries out in pain. Captain Cold and Boomerang track him down. Harkness, can you flush him out? I'm on it, he says. And Cold pulls out a gun. The kid is close. I can feel it. And as Wally continues to run, continues to cry, we get a little bit of a flashback to see what might have happened in the time that we missed. Calm down, Wally, he says. Just breathe. No, this is all your fault. You can run all you want. It'll never be far enough. You'll never forget what you did. And we see this look at Wally being affected by all this radiation, all this energy surrounding him. All the circular contraption that Barry was in explodes with him inside of it. And hiding in a dark corner, crying, Wally looks across from him to see Barry's dead body in whatever suit he was wearing inside there. You did this, Wally, he says to himself. You killed him. Genuinely, like, just such amazing art throughout. It's such a fascinating and perfect way to start it off, creating that character conflict, internal and external, and introducing the villains right away while having this kind of lonely coming of age story for Wally, which is very, very interesting. So those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours down in the comments below. If you like this, want more of it, let me know down in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, that is the video. Thank you for watching.